Good evening, Crime Talk aficionados. Thank you for joining us on our Tuesday night live presentation. My name is Scott Reich. Thanks for being here. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Obviously, we appreciate that you have other things that you could be doing. The fact that you take the time to be with us is greatly appreciated. It does not go unnoticed, and I assure you that we are very thankful for you to watch. All right, for those of you, maybe this is the first time you've joined us or you're just getting ready to join us, my name is Scott Reich. I'm a practicing criminal defense attorney doing criminal defense for 26 years. Man, I can't believe it's been that long. Getting old, I guess, so to speak. Anyway, we started this channel going on, I guess, 3 years ago, just a little over 3 years ago. And the reason I did was because I thought, well, the people on the regular news stuff really didn't explain things very well. So here we are several years later and almost at 200,000 subscribers, which some days it goes by really fast. Other days it goes not so fast. It just depends. I think a lot of it has to do with those YouTube algorithms. And I don't know what we were at, like 46 million views or something like that. We're way up there. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. Hope you had an opportunity to watch our video that we put up today. We talked about Letecia Satuch's case. That's an interesting case, a case that as we were chatting before we went on the air, we were thinking, well, we got to do our year in review. We're going to have, this case still going on. Oh, yeah, in this case, still going on. Letecia Satuch is one of those cases. I think this case is going to go on for a couple of years. Hopefully not. We also talked about Brian Laundrie. Alex Murdaugh. I'm telling you, Alex Murdaugh's case is, it's got to be the juiciest case that I can think of when you think of like just corruption. You have an attorney that was given his future from his grandfather and his father, and the guy just screwed it up big time. But he didn't get there one day by just thinking I could do this. I mean, maybe he did. Maybe did his father, grandfather, tell him, hey, this is how you do it. You work the system, so to speak. But, anyway, we talked about that motion that the defense attorneys have filed, basically saying, quit being mean to Alex Murdaugh. And I thought maybe it was written by a lady. I don't have her name, but she just writes me the comments that, Scott, you're defaming Alex Murdaugh. No, we said alleged. He's alleged of doing bad, terrible things. And literally, I think, writes me every day saying, I think the one that caught my eye the other day was, you should give up that fancy pants plane you're flying around in and give it to Buster Murdaugh. I mean, okay, whatever. And then obviously we have the Ahmaud Arbery case where jury deliberations continue. And to think about it, I mean, the trial went from jury selection to jury deliberations. We're starting our third week. Not particularly long case. If you think about it, there's so much that goes into a homicide trial, but at the end of the day, it's really not that long, right? You have the story. You have to tell the story. What happened? Police show up. Ahmaud Arbery there. He's dead. They interview the people. It's pretty simple. It just takes time to bring everybody in and to talk about it. And I do believe, hopefully, the jury, like I said, it doesn't matter what I hope, right? I'm not a juror on the Ahmaud Arbery case, just like I'm not a jury on the Kyle Rittenhouse case. But I think in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, if you don't believe that a reasonable jury could conclude that was, in fact, self-defense, you hadn't seen a single video in that case. And, that's over. I don't know if anybody saw, but Kyle Rittenhouse gave an interview. He gave an interview to Sean Hannity, and I was driving home, and I knew it was going to be on, so I found it on the Sirius XM so I could listen to it. And the kid actually comes across as very mature for 18 years old. I don't know if I had that much maturity, but although I never faced spend the rest of my life in prison at 18. Let's see here. And so that was rather interesting. I think he is going to be around for quite a while. And then, I mean, Kyle Rittenhouse, I think he's going to be in the news. I think he's going to continue to be in the news. And we're working on a video, hopefully have it up here in the next day or so, which I think will also explain a lot about where the Kyle Rittenhouse case will be going. All right, I see a chat here. Amy Gibbs, Arbery case. I just keep thinking of the Michael Dunn trial and interrogation. You can't shoot someone because you think they have a gun. Well, Amy, that's a good segue into the Ahmaud Arbery case. I mean, for those of you who, I mean, most of the people I think that subscribe to our channel and watch, keep up on current events, know that the McMichaels, father, son, and then Roddy Bryan are all charged with the death of Ahmaud Arbery, who was in their neighborhood, and they, being McMichaels and Roddy Bryan, who's, I guess, kind of asked to come along, who ultimately wound up videotaping the incident, and actually turned out to be the best evidence against the defendants in this particular case. But yeah, I mean, there's some issues of, I mean, self-defense. I mean, listen, ladies and gentlemen, self-defense is not going away. Okay? This is not something that's new. This goes back to English common law. You've always had a right to defend yourself. Heck, the United States Supreme Court is going to be taking up basically your right to defend yourself in the New York Rifle Pistol Association case that's up at the Supreme Court regarding, concealed carry and whether you should basically be able to have a gun on you at all times, because it's basically your right to defend yourself. So self-defense, Amy, great segue here, is that you have an absolute right to defend yourself. It's not going away. The right to defend itself is not going away. People think, oh my God, people get one verdict they don't like and they want to change the entire, hundreds of years of legal rule of law regarding, like, for example, self-defense. You could always claim self-defense. I'm like, this is English common law stuff. This is not anything super new, novel. There's always been little nuances to it. Like, if you were the initial aggressor, well, what's initial aggressor? Did you do something to provoke it? But even if you did something to provoke it, guess what? You can still defend yourself. There's some states you have to retreat if you're the initial aggressor. For example, you go and you say, I'm gonna beat you up. The guy says, fine, let's beat you up. You put up your fists and they pull out, a weapon of some type. That kind of situation goes on. Okay, the initial aggressor wanted to start to fight, and then it turned the other way. So he kind of runs, retreats. Does he, can he defend himself? Of course he can. Okay, and this is what I think we tried to explain this the other day. But sometimes I think it's just what's the word I'm looking for? Well, on the live shows, you can just really kind of lay it out there. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. If somebody walks up to you and says, I am going to harm you, I am going to do terrible bodily harm to you, or maybe even kill you, are you supposed to wait until they do it and then claim self-defense? That would be absurd, right? Oh, I have to wait for him. Before I could defend myself, I need to wait for them to stab me, right? Think about that. Who would possibly think that would be okay? I mean, a pacifist maybe? I'm not going to raise a hand or something like that. Okay, but you're probably going to die. So you have a right to defend yourself. Then it kind of gets in where, was it reasonable, right? Somebody says you're going to fight, you're going to fight. Things get out of hand. He says, I'm really going to harm you. Do they have a weapon? Do you believe it? Well, it's a reasonable belief. If you look at the jury instructions, okay, and I still have the Wisconsin ones here on the desk because, well, we've needed them for a little bit. But even the Georgia ones that we had pulled up, once again, it's the reasonableness, right? Justify use of force. You can use force when you reasonably believe that the force is necessary in order to protect yourself or a third party against another person's imminent use of unlawful force. Unlawful force is illegal force that they don't have. Unlawful simply means that you have no legal permission or justification under the law. So that's what, it's reasonable force, okay? A reasonable belief that the force is necessary. And the scope of force depends on whether you reasonably believe that the type of force is necessary to defend yourself or a third party. You may use deadly force under Georgia law only if reasonably believe that such force is necessary to prevent the death or great bodily harm to you or to another person to prevent the commission of the case. So let's talk about the Ahmaud Arbery case. Ahmaud Arbery's running through this neighborhood, okay? People have had problems with thefts in the neighborhood. The house that they believed that Ahmaud Arbery was coming from was under construction, and so they, let's face it. I mean, let's call it the way it is, okay? The McMichaels and Roddy Bryan, who they kind of said, "Come on, let's go, let's roll, let's go get this guy." They think that he must have stolen something, although they don't see anything. He's not carrying anything that they say, came from the house. They didn't find anything on his person, when the police arrived, that he had stolen something from the house. In fact, the homeowner at one point had previously stated that nothing was, in fact, stolen from the home. And then McMichael say, "Hey, we're chasing this guy around." At some point, they're calling the police, and ultimately they catch up with Arbery, and they pin him in between the cars. Okay, they pin him in between the situation. The younger McMichael gets out with his shotgun. McMichael testifies, the younger McMichael, Travis testifies that, he goes up to Brian, and at some point Brian tries to take his gun, and therefore he was justified in using reasonable force, firing the first shot that I think wounded Arbery. The second shot misses, and then when they're in this struggle, the third one ultimately puts a hole in Mr. Arbery's chest. Okay, those are the kind of the general facts. The prosecution saying, "Hey, let's not forget the older McMichael, Greg McMichaels. He was a former police officer, former investigator for the district attorney's office who originally investigated this case. Somehow, like, his old boss gets involved and was kind of going to clear it, sweep it under the rug type of situation. And, that's when Roddy Bryan's former attorney turns over this video to a radio station they put on their website. And then all hell breaks loose. And obviously these three get charged. And they've been in custody basically, since they were charged. The theory was that Ahmaud Arbery was this innocent guy walking around or out jogging. Okay. And listen, I don't know Mr. Ahmaud Arbery from Adam, right? Let's face it. Nobody knows. I don't know the guy. I know what I've read, what I've heard in court. He had a run-in with the law when he was younger, like lots of people do. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are a terrible person. One of his crimes, and I think Greg McMichaels was aware of, I think he literally they shoplifted a television or something from a Walmart store, and it didn't go well. He got arrested. And but the court kept that out. Said basically his past criminal history is of no relevance here whatsoever. And the reason being is not like it's he if he had been caught stealing something in the house, then I could see it would be relevant, but it isn't. Just to besmirch Mr. Ahmaud Arbery. So not relevant. Was he in there jogging? listen, we're probably never going to know. Was he out jogging? If you listen to the defense, he couldn't have been out jogging because, well, he didn't have the appropriate running gear. He didn't have socks on, so therefore he must have been doing something. Who knows? He could have been walking to his girlfriend's house. He could have been walking to a job interview. Who knows? Frankly, no one will probably ever know exactly what he was doing there. But whether he was running, walking, casing the place to go rob something later that night. I'm not saying he is, but let's say he was doing it hypothetically. Did that give the McMichaels and Roddy Bryan basically the right to go chase him around the neighborhood? And the defense argument and closing argument was basically, well, why did he run if he didn't do something wrong? Really? Maybe they should, not read that jury instruction that the defendant has an absolute right not to testify. So Greg McMichaels and Mr. Bryan, who didn't testify, why did you testify unless you had something to hide, right? I mean, think about that. And I get it, the defense attorneys are doing their jobs, but you still got to try to keep it classy, right? You hope so. So, the matter goes to trial. Here they are. I'm sorry. They chase, Mr. Arbery down. This altercation we previously talked about comes about. They're charged. Okay. The issue is, just like it was in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, self-defense. Okay. Were they the initial aggressors? Under Georgia law, if you're an initial aggressor, you can't basically claim that you did something. You're the initial aggressor. You provoked it. I mean, this guy, for all we know, is he's walking around, running around. It doesn't matter. He was running when they were trying to chase him in the neighborhood. Maybe the reason he didn't stop was because, well, we know, I think it was Greg McMichaels allegedly used some racial epithets at the scene with the police officers that was captured on the videotape. Maybe he got the feeling that this was not a good situation and that three white guys and, chase him on the back of the truck, one guy in the back of the bed. I mean, what does it look like a scene out of Forrest Gump or something where they're, chasing him down the street and he's running and they come around the street and they got that music playing in the back. And maybe he didn't want to stop and he stops. Finally, okay, the guy's coming out. We'll come with a gun. I don't know. It looks like, if we watch the video, it looks like he kind of grabs it, but then he shoots. McMichael shoots, and it was like, okay. And then he shoots again, misses, shoots again, boom. Dude's dead. Mr. Arbery's dead. I mean, the jury's going to have to decide. Was McMichael, was it reasonable? It's going to be interesting. I mean, it's really a complicity theory type defense. What you're responsible for what they all do when you aid and abet or assist somebody. But like I said, when you go and you look at the actual section 16-3-21, the Georgia Code, you can use force when you reasonably believe that force is necessary in order to protect yourself or a third party, right? McMichael said, oh, I was defending myself. And, my dad, we didn't know what he had. Didn't see any weapons, didn't find any on him. That's a little tough to believe. The prosecutors ultimately said, hey, this is just a bunch of racist thugs who didn't like a black man in their neighborhood, and it really didn't matter what his purpose was. They were going to go confront him. And then the defense basically says, why did he run? The defense attorney says at one point, the female, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, basically alludes to the fact, Mr. Arbery, he's not that cute kid with the baseball hat or, the picture. He's basically, a young black man with his baseball cap turned to the side. And, although he had good intentions, he may have gone astray, right? Basically alluding to the fact that he had some criminal incidents, right? I mean, the jury probably knows about this. Everybody's heard about this case down there, right? And so, I mean, and once again, just like in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, I didn't hear people objecting in closing. I know some people, I don't know where they learned this. I think I probably heard it in law school. You don't usually object during closing arguments unless and until, it's the appropriate time to make a record outside the presence of the jury. You just don't do that. Yeah, no. And let me tell you why. Because I lost a case on appeal once, and they said, wow, if you just had objected, made a timely objection, case would have been reversed. Okay? And so object early, object often, object even if you don't know what you're going to object to, but you object so that you preserve that objection. And nobody did anything during these closing statements. They just the prosecutors went along with it. I was very surprised in this particular case that they didn't need to do it. So obviously we got the Arbery case. We still got the Rittenhouse case, the Murdaugh case. We can talk about. I'm yours. I'm here. We can chat about it. And obviously I want to thank, like I said, everybody for being here. Gosh, can you already believe 20 minutes gone by? And Thanksgiving's coming. Hopefully you're all going to be with your family if you want to be with your family. And if you don't want to be with your family, you're not with your family. But have a happy Thanksgiving. We'll still be here working tomorrow for a little bit, making sure we put up some content for you all. Look, people that like my Forrest Gump. Remember that little scene in Forrest Gump where he's running down the road and he comes out of his little crutches? I mean, but there's a guy in the back of the truck that's like, get him, get him, get him. That's what they're doing. So yeah, that's funny. Somebody said maybe he was running because he had seen Deliverance. Possibly, which is another, good movie. Most people probably have not seen that. Although if you look at the demographics, maybe most of our subscribers and fans have seen Deliverance. Some people look at it, nope, I don't know. Other than the dueling banjo scene, they don't get it when you talk about Deliverance. Let's see. Quantum wannabe. Prosecutors needed to show evidence that they knew the pursuit was illegal. I'm not sure of that statement. Needed to show that I think with quantum wannabe, I don't want to put words into your chat here, but part of the issue was the whole citizen's arrest. Okay. We had pulled this statute when this case first came out, and you should have seen the hate mail that I was getting when I said I don't think the statute applies. I mean, seriously, it was brutal. People are, oh my gosh, Scott, you're trying to kill self-defense. No, I'm not. I'm just saying the Georgia. Let me pull up here on my computer because I've got it saved. And so my humble opinion is that it did not apply. A person, this is Georgia, just so people think I'm not making this stuff up because we try to be as accurate as possible here. Georgia Code, Section 17-4-60, arrest by a private person. A private person may arrest an offender if the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge. If the offense is a felony and the offender is escaping or attempting to escape, a private person may arrest him upon reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion. I don't know. Once again, what knowledge? They had no information that something was actually being stolen, that no felony had in fact been committed. That's why I didn't think the citizen's arrest by a private person was going to work for the McMichaels and Mr. Roddy Bryan. Let me just double check something else here, because we just want to make sure we get it correct. Because it matters. You got to make sure you get it right. There's so many people, particularly on the Rittenhouse case, I just couldn't believe it, that they had made up their minds one way or another. They didn't care what, facts be damned. And that's the problem when you stop looking at it from a legal aspect. Here's the facts. Here's the law. Remove the emotion from the situation, right? The law is supposed to make decisions based upon neither passion nor prejudice in any way. But there's so many people that get all spun up and it becomes political, right? Politics. One day politicians are saying that the other side's guy is absolutely terrible because he did A, B, and C. 6 months later, their guy is doing the exact same thing, A, B, and C, but it's okay. And they come up and they try to rationalize every excuse for them because it's political, right? And if you're trying to engage in some intellectual honesty, you would have to say, well, if you applied the same rules and the same facts, both should basically be publicly scorned for doing A, B, and C. But we don't do that. And that was the problem, I think, with the Rittenhouse case, is that everybody looked at it from a political point of view. Well, I don't like guns. Okay, guns can be unsafe if you don't handle them properly, if you're careless with them. Okay, I could agree with that. People looting cities, they're out there burning cities. They shouldn't be able to burn cities down. I could agree with that. People have a right to protect their property. People have a right to defend themselves. I can agree with that too. I think most people can. But when the people just started to ignore the actual facts, and then even more so, they just want to ignore the law, if you want to have political trials, I guess you can have that. But, where are we? Some sort of third world communist, banana republic, so to speak, where, I don't like the enemy. I don't like the person today because he disagreed with me. Therefore, he is he's committed a crime and we're going to send him off to prison. Right. Yeah. I think, Frank chimed in and said, Venezuela. Yeah. Who has, personal knowledge with Venezuela. He can speak to that, speaking with some authority. Come on, people. And so whatever happens here on, the McMichael's case regarding the death of Roddy Bryant in regards to the death of Ahmaud Arbery, those jurors, they know everybody's watching. They know what it is. And I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I really don't think, and I don't think I've ever seen a jury say, we're going to convict somebody because of their race. Okay? I'm telling you, and I have done, I couldn't even tell you how many trials I've done over the years. I stopped keeping count, don't keep track of them. But I don't think I can honestly say that I said, man, the jury convicted my client because he was black. Heck, the last trial I did was a black man charged with 13 counts. There were 11 white people on the jury, 1 black woman on the jury, and they found him not guilty. So, I think most people, like I said, either A, aren't familiar with it or they're letting their politics get in the way. I've said this before. Most jurors, I think all jurors, take their jobs very seriously. Okay, there's always going to be that one guy that, can we just vote so we can get our lunch and go home kind of thing, right? For the most part, jurors take their jobs very, very seriously. It is the most important thing they've ever done, and they know that somebody's liberty is at stake. And I know it's easy to sit behind a keyboard and say, oh, I would convict this guy right now. It'd be so easy. Well, when you actually have to sit there and look somebody across the way, right? And if you're making a decision with neither passion nor prejudice, then that's what it's not as easy as you do. I've seen jurors struggle immensely with a case, and I do truly believe that jurors are doing their best and they're watching. Like I said, I cannot think of a case where I could say the jury found somebody guilty or not guilty simply because of their race. At least not in my experience. Has it happened? Okay, I'm sure there has. Heck, I can go back to people saying, O.J. Simpson, he was only found, not guilty because of the jury. No, O.J. Simpson was found not guilty because the prosecution sucked. Okay, they turned a 2-week trial into an 8-month circus, and just ridiculous. So, all right, we don't ask or beg for super chats, but if you put them up, it certainly highlights your statement here. In clumsy clairvoyance, I admire you for the truth on the Rittenhouse case. Well, thank you. I mean, Rittenhouse, he was found not guilty. I think the videos clearly show self-defense. Now, if he was my son, the first thing I would have done, once found not guilty, was whack him upside the back of the head and say, what the hell do you think you were thinking? You're not going to go back and do that again. And I said it like, what the hell was he out there doing? Like, I would not have let my kid. I know he's out there always trying to help people. I get it. But you know what? Sometimes you need to, when anarchy is breaking loose, maybe you need to stay home and protect your own property and not try to help save the world. But I'm glad that it turned out well for him. I think that, seriously, I mean, the evidence showed that. When the guy who puts the gun to his head admits, I was basically going to shoot him. And, oh, by the way, Kyle Rittenhouse didn't shoot me. This is the Gross Cruz character I'm talking about. Oh, by the way, I did not get shot until I pointed a gun at his head, right? And the other guy swinging a bat or swinging a skateboard at Rittenhouse with saying that he's gonna kill him, and the other guy saying he's gonna kill him. Okay, and we're not even gonna get into their criminal histories, right? Every one of those guys, and then the mystery unidentified jumping karate guy. That guy wouldn't testify in the case unless he received immunity for his own cases. And sometimes prosecutors are not dealt the best hand. And you got to just deal with the card you got to play with the card you're dealt with. But at some point you got to look at the case and say, man, I just don't have it. But once again, I think it became too political versus just looking at the facts. I don't know if the Mr. Binger and his co-counsel in that particular case, who knows? They could get a grievance for bringing it just because they lost the case, not in and of itself. And I'm sure the defense attorney is going to be like, hey, let it go. But we'll have to wait and see. Jen Lowe, Scott, do you think that the defense attorney's comments regarding Arbery's toenails was appropriate? I don't. It had nothing to do with the case, and it's my understanding, reading on it, that toenail comment had something to do with basically runaway slaves or something along those lines. And I don't get it why the defense was going there, where everything the defense was doing was trying to turn it into, this is the defense argument summed up rather quickly. Okay, just remember, this is me summing up the defense argument rather quickly. Not my opinion, the defense argument in the Ahmaud Arbery case. The defense for the Ahmaud Arbery case was, we had a young black man in our white neighborhood. He's scary. Did we mention he's black? We tried to approach him. He was scary. We took a gun. We had to shoot him because he was black and we were scared. even though it was 3-on-1. They were in cars. He was in on foot. Okay, and whether he was running, and what the hell does his feet have to do with anything? Could you say, ladies and gentlemen, we know it's clear from the evidence he was not out jogging. Use your common sense and knowledge, ladies and gentlemen. Who goes out jogging in, khaki shorts and, shoes and no socks? Why do you have to get into toenails or anything like that? Like what does that have to do other than just trying to take a cheap shot? Okay. And that's what, you can be a zealous advocate for your client, and you can also do it with some class and some dignity by not having to hit those low blows. Now, don't get me wrong. If the other side goes that way, I'll take the cheap shots all day long, but you're going to have to go there first. Okay. Like most things in life, I can be your greatest friend or your worst enemy. You choose. Okay. But I thought it was inappropriate. I don't think that it was necessary. And just the and listen, I get it. I've been there where she's like, he's not the cute young kid to the picture that the court showed up. He maybe strayed a little bit. Why was he there? He ran. Why did he run? They're arguing their facts, but you know what? You don't have to become completely classless to win your case. Scott, if the juries always get it right, why do we have appellate courts? What do you tell your clients when you lose? Well, I have to say, the juries make the best decision they can based upon the evidence they receive. Now, remember, the appellate courts are there to look at the judge's rulings, okay? They don't look at the facts and say, we're going to start all over again and see if that jury got it wrong. That's not what appellate courts do. Appellate courts look if there were legal errors made, i.e., did the judge screw up? Did the judge allow evidence in that he should not have? Did he keep evidence out that he should have allowed in? The objections were made. Did the judge, when he overruled it, should he have sustained it? Those are the issues. Did the judge make a legal error that resulted in some unfair prejudice to the defendant? Now understand, and if you look it up, about 2% of cases come back on appeal. Not a whole lot when you think of the number of cases that go up and you get an automatic right of review. Hell, you even get it for free if you're indigent. And appeals are expensive. Those court reporters, they don't type that stuff up for free. And those court reporters, they have to listen to they listen to the court. They listen to it again when they're proofreading it, like 2-3. They listen to that trial 4 times before they put that stuff out. So that's what the appellate courts are doing, looking at legal errors, not just saying the jury got it right or wrong. Now, when I lose a case, okay, I have gone as far as even told a judge, normally I can stand here and say that my client received a fair trial, but in this particular case, I cannot say that he did based upon the court's rulings, okay? And I've lost cases and said, hey, man, it's a question of fact. The jury didn't believe our defense, but the judge gave you a fair trial, okay? So, yeah, I mean, you're not going to win them all as a defense attorney, all right? Because, frankly, the prosecution brings the case. It should be a slam dunk under their legal and ethical standards. So they should win. And but, the defense does win too. But when your client loses, don't get me wrong, it sucks when you lose, okay? And sometimes you don't have a great shot at winning. The client knows that as well, but maybe they made you a GORT offer, right? Which is guilty or trial. A little acronym there, GORT. Guilty or, see it stamped on the file, GORT. He can plead guilty to the main charge. Your client can plead guilty to the main charge or go to trial. Okay, we pick trial. Let's go. But you never know. Maybe you get something reversed. it sucks losing, but juries usually get it right with the information that they have. Now, if the judge had allowed them to hear evidence that they shouldn't have, or then, it's not as fair. And that's why we do have appellate courts. And, the appellate courts, we talk about, removing the emotion of the battle in the legal system. That's what the appellate courts truly, truly do. Okay. At the trial court, you have the emotion of the people in the courtroom, the family sitting in the courtroom, the supporters of the victim or the family in the courtroom, the judge trying to weigh, how do I split the baby here and be nice to everybody and still make sure it looks like I'm a tough guy so that I don't have a case that's in the newspaper and it's going to come back and bite me when I vote, when I'm up for retention. How do I look like, do that? And I've had judges where I swear they just didn't like my client. Okay. And, sometimes I understand it. My client wasn't a very likable person, but at least you have to, as a judge, your job is to treat everybody with dignity, respect, unless they do otherwise. And at that point, the court is supposed to do that, but there's the emotion that gets involved. There's emotion in the courtroom. Okay. You got a victim, crying. You got the family crying, how this has completely changed their life. They're never going to see their loved one again. The trauma from the circumstances. There's emotion. All right. And the judge can't just turn off that emotion and doesn't want to sound callous. Well, I'm going to look at the law, blah, blah, and that's it. But the appellate courts, that's what they do, because they're sitting they're reading the blank transcript. Did the guy make the objection? He did. He made an objection. Yep. It looks like he preserved that. Yep. I think he's right. Right. And they don't have the emotion of this, of the hearing going on. It's just what is on that cold paper. So that's what appellate courts do. But so hopefully that answers your question. Mullets mayhem, not their property. Why is this even a question? As a Floridian, I'm giving side eye to Georgia. That's saying a lot. All right. I agree. It wasn't their property. Right. And we just talked about the whole, the statute, right? Procedure. May arrest an offender. Arrest, not shoot. Not shoot, arrest. If the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge, there was no evidence of a crime. Certainly not anything within their immediate knowledge. So I was surprised that the judge even gave this in jury instruction. But you have to look at what the law is, the legal standard is as to what the legal standard is to get a jury instruction. The standard to get a jury instruction is a mere scintilla. A mere scintilla of evidence. That's some evidence, very slight. So example, in a self-defense case, right? I've had cases where I wanted the self-defense instruction and my client wasn't going to testify because that really wasn't going to, necessarily help much. But the victim, on the stand said, well, you came at my client and you were threatening him, blah, blah, blah. And say, Judge, I am entitled to the self-defense instruction. Well, what evidence is there that the client was in fear? Well, the witness testified that he had come at my place and, or come at my client, and it was reasonable that he could have been in fear. And the witness said, yeah, I guess so. Your Honor, that's a mere scintilla of evidence. I'm entitled to the instruction. Your Honor, as I tell judges all the time, courts get reversed, trial courts get reversed when you don't give the instruction and there's a mere scintilla of evidence. We have a mere scintilla of evidence here. I think you should give it, Your Honor, or you face getting reversed. What is the judge's worst nightmare? One of two. First one is letting somebody off easy and they go off and commit a more serious crime. The second one is getting reversed, right? Because everybody hears about it. The judges all get a copy of it and they know who gets reversed more than who doesn't. So let's see here. Wow, this goes by so fast. My oldest son's BFFs lived with us for years. He was black and was a great kid. Every week he would have some oddball form of racism. We lived in Delaware when he started driving was the scariest. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying there aren't racists in the world. I like to think that it's few and far between. Yeah. Oh, Jen Lowe, thanks for reminding. Yeah, Patreon members. Like, if you want to have this conversation, not just on chat, but you actually want to call in. That's right. When you do it in your Patreon, you get to call in. Why is it even pertinent? Okay.
Let's do a break.
Let's take a quick break.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's take a quick recess and we'll be right back. All right, we'll be right back. Please go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to crimetalksearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. All right, we're back. Quick little break there. I think that should be our new Crime Talk theme song. What do y'all think of that? In case you didn't hear it or weren't paying attention, here you go.
Send lawyers, guns, and money.
I just love that song. I really do. The old, Dad, send lawyers, guns, and money. Get me out of here. Right. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, Frank put that on my little board over here. We've got the.
All right, lawyer.
That's good. And then, how about dun, dun, dun. Love that one too. But still, I think this is the best.
Send lawyers, guns, and money.
You got to listen to the whole song. What was it? Zephron guy was his name, I think. What's his name? Warren Zevon. That was the guy's name. Yeah. So yeah, I think we probably covered the whole self-defense thing there. And then we got. I still think Brian Laundrie. Just when you think the Brian Laundrie saga was gone and never coming back, well, it's back, and now they were unable to tell from the remains, the skull of Brian Laundrie, that he died from a gunshot wound. But now somebody has examined it, the skull. I think an anthropologist is what the family lawyer is saying. And it was determined that he died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, I've seen skulls where people have, had bullet holes and stuff go through their skull and things like that. And I'm just going to go on a limb. Usually it's pretty obvious. That some blunt force object hit the skull, fractured it. I'm just not sure how they can only tell that the skull was there. I mean, unless maybe, did a gator eat it, right? And then the other thing is okay, I mean, we knew before, okay, I guess we didn't. Where's the gun? Why didn't they find the gun? If you shoot yourself in the head, it's not like you're going to be stumbling around, walking through the swamps. You're probably going to drop like a sack of potatoes pretty much where you are. So you would think, where's the gun? I don't know. Maybe this is part of the bigger plot. I don't know. I say that jokingly. Please don't take me seriously. Because we were talking beforehand, and somebody was saying, Julia was saying, there's people that have theories that Rittenhouse was all made up to take the pressure off of the Ghislaine Maxwell, take the press off of it. I sometimes I literally just sit here and wonder, do people really think that? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Frog Wizard. Gator's got the gun. Scott the conspiracy theorist. Yeah. No. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I like, conspiracy theorists like, who'd killed JFK. I mean, I sure would like to know, right? I mean, there's some pretty good things. And that was just the other day. What was it? The 58th anniversary when JFK was shot. Does anybody really believe the Warren Commission? Yeah, probably not. And we talked about the other day, like, do you really trust your government? I think the real question is, why would anybody, and I'm not trying to be argumentative here or controversial in any way, but I mean, like I said, I love our country and our Constitution. I think is the greatest thing. Pretty good experiment we got going on here for 260 years, and but the guys that wrote it, not big fans of government. Why do you think they limited the power of the government? Because they knew people in power were going to abuse it, right? And they knew that they could lie, right? That's why we had the First Amendment. People were supposed to be able to say pretty much whatever they wanted to say against the government. And it's supposed to be the fourth branch of government, basically to make sure everybody in government is being kept honest. But now, let's face it, the press really doesn't do it. I mean, our local news, I a news junkie, used to watch the news all the time. And the local news sucks so bad. I mean, literally, we got the weather. The Broncos are playing. We're going to have a three-legged dog story. And then we're going to talk about the Broncos some more, maybe a little bit of weather, just so you know what to wear tomorrow morning. It's terrible. It's terrible. You turn on the news in the morning. Oh my God! Like the lovely Miss Kristen likes to watch the Today Show in the morning. It's just terrible. I mean, it's no wonder why so many people are misinformed or uninformed. As it relates to world events these days, when you get your news feed or from your news feed on Facebook is your source of information, or Huda, or what's the other lady on the Today Show? I don't even know their names. Yeah, her, Rosanna something, I guess. I don't know. It's just terrible. There's no real news going on anywhere in the world, no real analysis. And that's the beautiful thing. I'm telling you, and I hope this comes up. I truly hope that I really hope and wish that courtrooms continue to stream important trials like the Ahmaud Arbery case, the Kyle Rittenhouse case, the Derek Chauvin trial. Those type of cases should all be viewed. They should not be kept to a 30-second summary on the 10 o'clock news. People should be able to go watch them from the beginning to end so they can make their own decision and see how the people in charge basically got to do it. We're already seeing it, kind of an end to it. Here in Colorado, we're moving back to everybody needs to go back to court, which is so frustrating because it's so inefficient when you can do, multiple court appearances via WebEx. I'm truly going to miss that. But it's going to take, I don't see the judiciary doing it on their own. Perhaps the legislature will have to do it. But I think, unless it's a case involving children, why should it not be televised on every case? I literally down to municipal court to the most heinous crime trial you could think of. The federal courts, heck, they audio tape, tape record the Supreme Court so you can listen to those. It'd be wonderful if it was actually videotaped from beginning to end, filmed from beginning to end. But I think that's so important. We need to watch this. Totally Scott on mainstream commentary, but private interest would corrupt it. The three-legged dog stole the football. Yep. Lion swimmer Scott T-shirt. My T-shirt showing? I don't know. Confirmed suicide by gun residue on his hand. Oh, wait. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's so much opinion stuff. What's the old saying? It's a newspaper article, or it's an opinion piece masquerading as a newspaper article. Just give me the facts. That's the beautiful thing about, and this is even in court, right, ladies and gentlemen? In court, remember, the prosecutor, think about this. The prosecutor, everyone thinks the prosecutor is above the law. They're the guys in the white hat. They are there to do justice. They can do no wrong. They're prosecutors. No, they're advocates. And I have mentioned once or twice in closing that, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, well, even in voir dire, I've tried to hint it to them, that if this case was truly about seeking justice and all the evidence was going to be presented by the prosecutor, I, on behalf of my client, would never have to say a word, ask a single question, because the prosecutor is going to bring out all the evidence that would be fair to my client. But they don't do that, ladies and gentlemen. Hence the reason we have cross-examination. That's right, the greatest truth-seeking tool. And I'm telling you, that Rittenhouse cross-examination by his attorneys of Mr. Grosskreutz, that was pretty damn good. That was good. And I don't know if you noticed the difference of the cross-examination of the defense attorney. So, kind of told him this is what happened. The only time that he fired his gun at you was when you put a gun at him and he was on his butt. Yep. And he was running. Yep. Yes. The cross-examination by Mr. Binger of Rittenhouse, probably one of the worst cross-examinations I have ever seen. And we're not even going to get into the whole issue about him commenting on the defendant's silence. Should have been a mistrial right there, but the judge was totally wishy-washy. This judge really didn't like making decisions. He just kind of said, hopefully we can wait it out, write it out, and it'll correct itself. He got lucky because it was a not guilty. The judge did. But he should have declared a mistrial when asked, and should have done it without prejudice, because it was completely intentional. And literally a first-year law student, at least one that took criminal law, would know that. So it's they're not, prosecutors are not out there always in the white hat. I like to think if I'm the guy in the white hat when I am a defense attorney, because I'm there to bring out the truth, the questions that the prosecutor doesn't ask. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. I can only think of a couple of times like, I think that's pretty much the prosecutors have said all I need to say. Yeah, I don't need anything. Nope. Doesn't happen. They tell their good facts, have to wait for the defense to do that. So just remember, prosecutors, not always as squeaky clean as you think they do. And just like most prosecutors, when they're realizing they're losing, they cheat. Okay? They cheat. Seen it too many times. Rebecca, a prosecutor probably should not have brought that case. But once again, when you get into political trials, that's the problem when you bring political trials. You ignore the evidence. You just simply focus on an outcome. Like I said, the judge, he was a nice judge. He's an experienced judge. Everyone's like, oh, he's in favor of Rittenhouse. I thought he was pretty down the middle. When he yelled at the prosecutor, it was because the prosecutor deserved it. I don't know why everybody was saying, oh, he's, I saw defense attorneys that was like, I've never had a judge help me out this much to do. Really? I thought the judge was pretty fair to both sides, a little indecisive. I think if, he didn't want to be the judge to declare a mistrial and throw the case out. He wanted it to go the distance. It needed to go the distance. And, Rittenhouse got the result that he desired, and the jury concluded. So it all worked out well. Mary Dunn, how do I get to Patreon? I'm a member, but have joined only once. If you're a Patreon, you just go to the Patreon.
Yeah, to the feed.
You go to the feed, the Patreon feed, and it'll be there.
It's right there. Right?
And there's a link. Apparently there's a link. So if you go to the Patreon CrimeTalk, it's right there. Hopefully that answers your question. And if you haven't become a Patreon, please do so. Because why? What are we going to do? Where's the magic? I can't see it because this thing is here. Oh, yeah. See that thing? Not the cool bronze. No, not that one. The magic 8 ball. And that one right there, another magic 8 ball. we asked the Magic 8 Ball questions. I can already tell what I think what the Magic 8 Ball is gonna be tonight. Are they going to be convicted in the trial for the death of Ahmaud and Arbery? I'm thinking that's it. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, Magic 8 Ball. Naomi, love to hear the trials in America. Yeah, I mean, trials are interesting. Sometimes they're a little boring. They're a little dull. I get it. But, man, everyone should be able to see it. You know, in today's world, it used to be everybody had to go down to the courthouse and watch. But in today's world, we should all be able to literally say, I wonder what's on Colorado Court TV and see what case interests me. Some states have it where you can go and watch like the initial advisements and bond arguments and things like that. But I think they should make it free. And everybody should be able to tape it as much as they want. Why not? It's what goes on in the world, right? But somehow there's only one official record and we have to keep it. Okay. So, yeah. All right. Wow. I mean, we had quite a few people, not as many as we had some nights. I mean, it was, I think everybody's just in the holiday season for Thanksgiving. And I think a lot of people, maybe I'm wrong. It's just like for a while, we had a complete lull of like real case activity because of COVID. And then all of a sudden, we got Ghislaine Maxwell that starts on Monday. We've got, Rittenhouse, Arbery. Oh, and then the coffee guy down in Florida as well, right? I mean, what was the guy's name? Andrew Coffey, right? Black man found not guilty when cops go into his home, basically alleging that he's a bad guy. Shots fired. He fires at police. Self-defense. I don't know what the makeup of the jury was, but my guess is it wasn't all, African-American, Black American jurors, probably smattering like most juries. White, black, brown, you name it. It's a little smattering of everything. White, women, men, everything. Just a whole smattering. You just never know what you're going to get. So Andrew Coffey, not guilty of second-degree murder, 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder of a law enforcement officer by discharging a firearm, and 1 count of throwing a deadly missile. Not guilty. So, I mean, I think it just goes back to people's fundamental belief that you have a right to defend yourself. Cops come into your house, guns a-blazing, and they don't announce it or they don't know what the hell's going on. You have a right to defend yourself. Just like if you're on the street, somebody puts a gun in the back of you and says, give me your wallet, right? You have reason to believe that's a gun. He's going to shoot you whether you take the wallet or not. You give it to him peacefully or not. He's going to, you have a right to defend yourself. I think most people believe that. And if you think you don't have a right to defend yourself, well, I mean, once again, why would anybody give up their right in any way, right? That's why I think it's so ridiculous where people want to give up constitutional rights so easily unless it's a knowing voluntary waiver at that particular time, like your trial rights. But these people are like, I don't ever think I'll need a gun. I think we should get rid of the Second Amendment. Why? We might as well get rid of the first as well. Freedom of assembly, so you can go out and march, protest, freedom of press. We'll just have the people in power just tell us what we need to think every day. Don't worry about it. It'll all be great. But there's people that think that, and you see these things like the man on the street, particularly what's scary when they go to the college, when they go to colleges and they say, how many branches of government are there? And these people don't know. Like, what have they been teaching? What have they been learning? Apparently nothing at all. Let's see here. True helper outside Arbery's murder, which is so sad. I use killer as a compliment for the women, like they are case winners. The men in the case saw poor performance. Yeah, I wasn't particularly impressed. It's the analysis and synthesis missing from the news. Yeah, the local news, I'm telling you, it's like the news, even the national stuff. I mean, it's just puff. And I guess that's what sells because everybody wants to live in their they're little bubbles and think everything's perfect and this is their world and nothing's ever going to happen to them. And then, like we got all those looters out there in San Francisco and they made their way to L.A. Whew, I'm telling you, it's one thing to steal something occasionally, but you start stealing from rich people. I mean, who do you think those laws are there to protect, right? The poor people? The poor people don't have a whole lot to steal from, right? Those laws are there to protect the rich people. So these people are making a huge mistake by going in and stealing rich people's stuff. Rich people don't like to be victims of theft, okay? We'll see if the legislature, but it just amazes me, the absolute lawlessness that's going on in the world. I think the pendulum has swung too far from mandatory minimum prison sentences for everything. Everybody has to go to prison to nobody goes to jail or prison at all, or rarely. It's gonna, and like all pendulums that swing too far, it's gonna come back the other direction, and you're not gonna like it. So, all right, can you believe it? Already an hour. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Please come join us on our Patreon site. We'll see you tomorrow. Watch us on Crime Talk. If you like the show and you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, share it, tell it with a friend. And don't forget, now's the time to start getting your Crime Talk gear. The holiday season is upon us. All right, we'll see you in a little bit.
Lawyers, guns, and money.